What's going on, everybody? My name is Paul. Welcome back to the Basketball Show. I have an interesting one today. Just recently, we had a four-time NBA champion, Andre Iguodala, on the podcast with Mark Jackson. And you know that Andre Iguodala played a couple of times in the finals against LeBron James. He knows LeBron James inside and out. Famous block by LeBron James was on Andre Iguodala. Iguodala won the MVP in the finals while guarding LeBron James in the finals. There's a lot of history between those two. And the man has played 19 years in the NBA, and he's made some interesting comments recently. And he was asked directly by Mark Jackson and his son on that podcast who he thought that the NBA GOAT was and why. And the response from Andre Iguodala was super intriguing and interesting to me. And I kind of tend to agree. So take a listen to his comments, and we'll be back right after this.
Who is your GOAT basketball player? I know your answer, but I'll give you the room to talk about it.
Well, I think what MJ meant to the game and what he did, his makeup, he was like Larry Bird said, like God was like, I'm going to take my time with this one, or I'm going to just give him a little bit of me. Go ahead. I'm going to throw some of me in you. Go ahead and do that. Like Larry Bird said that. He was like, man, that was Jesus Christ, man. Like, this is crazy. And when you look at like the size of his hands compared to his height, because MJ is only like 6'5". People don't understand, like MJ, he's not like, he doesn't have that crazy stature. Like Kobe was 6'5". Kobe was light. Like I had a lot of success with Kobe in the post, and he tried to guard me. But like MJ had a 50-inch vert or whatever his crazy vert was, one leg, two leg, crazy big hands to be that size. He wore size 13 and a half. He was naturally thin and skinny. He had to kind of bulk up, but he truly had not one flaw in his game. And when we say game, we're talking about his skill set, whether it's shooting ability. Like he wasn't naturally a ball handler. Like I go back and do my homework. Like Kenny Smith was like, yo, you can't handle the rock. And he came back and had handles, right? He actually could pass the ball. He just like, I want to put this ball on you. Like I'm scoring every time. He just had that killer mentality. He actually was super fast. Like he was fast. You see how he moved early in his career? Like maybe he was ahead of his time, but he was just really fast and like super athletic. He stayed healthy. But you go beyond like just the physicals and the skill set. You talk about like his approach to the game. Like the game is like, no matter what goes on in my world, like when I show up to the game, you're going to get my max effort. And like I said, with KD is like, you got a talent, you got with the God-given ability, and you got the love. But with him, it was like taken to another level in terms of like his competitive edge. Like he really wanted to kill you. Like imagine somebody knowing they better than everybody. It was like, he had Shaq's mentality with his skill set. Like when Shaq got mad, Kobe would say like, man, when Shaq got mad, it was scary. But Shaq wouldn't get mad every day. So like imagine Shaq like, I'm breaking everybody's head every single night. Like that was like Shaq is just a playful dude, but like MJ had, and then like you add in like his charisma, his IQ in terms of like how he knew how to speak to the fan base, how he knew how to interact while he showed up. And then it was a perfect time for him. No social media. He can go out and be himself to a certain extent. The cameras, like he can like get away from it. Now it's just like they're just invading your space, and that's kind of like affecting the mental state of the athlete at times. But like, and he always won. Like you can't take that away from him. Like I know people say, they try to. He only played 13 years for real. If you think about it, like he had 2 years from Washington, but this dude only played 13 years in the league, and like the dominance, like nobody could beat the dude. And regardless of what people say, that was the greatest era of skilled big man maybe in basketball history. Like you played with a couple of them, Coach. You played with Patrick Ewing. You played with Rick Smith. People don't know how good Rick Smith was.
Absolutely.
Like Rick Smith was that dude. Everyone talks about Arvydas Sabonis was the second best player in the world. talk about him. David Robinson was a problem. And then my favorite center was actually Akeem Olajuwon.
The real deal.
Like Akeem, like you had the greatest skill set in bigs, and then even your power forwards weren't as athletic and weren't as skilled in terms of like, you know, didn't have no shake or shimmy in their game, but they didn't shoot threes. But them dudes were reliable. Like the Davis brothers, the Davis boys, like, man, imagine somebody trying to go down the lane right now. Like, and I feel like that's gamesmanship in the game of basketball. Like MJ had to go to the hole knowing he was going to get hit upside the head. Like that says a lot. You know, we freed up the game a little bit for, you know, to be more movement or freedom of movement. But people say like you had to guard one-on-one with MJ, but yeah, MJ beat his man one-on-one, but then Detroit was whooping his behind once he beat his man. Like people don't mention that as well. And then you even go to that team, like Isaiah Thomas, the same age as MJ. He likes to remind us of that. But like, you know, he took him out. You know, like MJ was just different. You know, he didn't let the outside things affect when he played. And like when you put all that to account, because that's not taking anything away from the other guys, that's just saying how good he was and what he did for us and how he inspired us and how we emulated him. It's just, you know, head and shoulders above the rest.
Thank you. So now that you've listened to Andre Iguodala's comments, you know that he unquestionably chose Michael Jordan as the NBA GOAT of all time. Michael Jordan, he said, had no flaw in his game. He was able to pass at a super high level. The only problem was he chose not to pass. He always thought and knew that he could take over a game and he'd rather put the ball in the basket instead of pass the ball. He did mention the instance where Kenny Smith mentioned that Michael Jordan couldn't go left in college. And he said what Michael did is he went for the offseason and he came back and he had incredible handles after that. So he made his weakness in college with no handles a strength. And then in the NBA, he was also, in the beginning especially, he was criticized a lot for not having a good shot. So what Mike did is he worked on his shot and he developed such a mid-range jumper and an occasionally great three-point shot when he needed it, that it was incredible. And he said he had an incredible vertical. Michael always gave you 100% every single game. It doesn't matter what happened off the court. Doesn't matter what was affecting him off the court. If he had any kind of struggles, any kinds of problems, no matter what game it was, he would come into the game and he would give you 100%, no question. So that's that. Now, the other thing that Andre Iguodala said, Michael Jordan had huge hands. Nie przeszkadzaj mi teraz. Idź stąd. As we heard, Michael Jordan had huge hands, huge feet, an incredible vertical. He mentioned a 50-inch vertical. Jordan didn't have a 50-inch vertical. I believe everywhere we looked, he had a 46-inch vertical. And on his college metrics where he was tested, it was actually saying 44. But after that, it came up to be 46. I don't know where they got the number from, but it's mentioned pretty much everywhere, 46 after that. So from college to early NBA, it's very easy to understand. Once you do training in the NBA, you improve what you do. You become a better basketball player. So I believe those 2 inches gained by Mike from 44 in college, which is confirmed on paper, he gained those 2 inches and he did have a 46-inch vertical, which a lot of people against him question and try to question and all that other stuff because there's no actual record. But just thinking about it, going into the NBA, from college, you improve every aspect of your game. You improve athletically, and you just get better as a player. And that's it. I mean, Michael had no weakness. He could not be stopped. Nobody could beat him. And you can mention he lost that year. He lost that year in the playoffs. That's not what Andre Iguodala was referring to. He was referring to one-on-one matchups. When Michael Jordan was going against anybody in his era, some of the best NBA players ever. You had Dominique Wilkins. You had Larry Bird. You had a lot of these great players like Clyde Drexler when he faced him in the finals. Look at those stats. There's no comparison. And Drexler was considered at the time when they played in the finals, he was considered to be the second best player in the NBA compared to Jordan, as good as Jordan. A lot of media were saying. And Jordan got personal for him, if you know what that means with Michael Jordan. So he got personal for him. And he showed in those finals how much of a gap there is between them two. Michael had a greatly better field goal percentage. He outscored Clyde Drexler by like 13 points, if I remember correctly, in those finals on average. And he just kicked his butt, no question. So during Michael's career, not even looking, as Andre Iguodala said, not even looking at the Washington years, he played pretty much 13 seasons as a healthy guy in the NBA. And every single one of those seasons, every single one of those games, he brought 100%. And anybody going at him one-on-one, there was not one player in the NBA that could beat him. Not one. You hear Isaiah Thomas, even Andre mentioned him, Isaiah Thomas is bragging that Michael couldn't get by them, by the Detroit Pistons and all that crap. But he did. And he got by the Pistons when the Pistons' average age was 32 years old. They weren't old. And the only reason Michael Jordan wasn't able to get by the Pistons in the earlier years, even though he was averaging over 30 every time he played them in the playoffs, so he didn't have a problem with the Pistons. The Pistons had a problem with him. The only problem was Michael Jordan didn't have enough support because the team has to be the team, not an individual player. So that's what happened. That's why Michael couldn't beat them in the beginning. But once his team got a little bit better and he got stronger and he bulked up, like Andre Iguodala said, to get stronger and beat those guys down, he took care of Isaiah Thomas and the rest, no problem. It was easy. Isaiah Thomas keeps bragging, oh, we beat the Boston Celtics, oh, we beat the Lakers. Michael never did that. But if you beat those two teams and Michael kicked your ass, and Michael beat everybody. And that's it. So it was interesting to find out the perspective of Andre Iguodala on choosing his GOAT, especially because he played so many years with LeBron James in the league and finals against LeBron James directly, seeing how good LeBron James is, how strong he is, what his basketball IQ is, and he still chose Michael Jordan. That says a lot. Take a peek at those two videos that you have highlighted there, and I'll see you soon again. Bye-bye.